Hi there, it's Rick Lomax from Sustainable Development Unit. I'm going to talk you through how to input your data into the new Sustainability Reporting Portal. And you're going to go through your Manage Sustainability Data section here. So if you click the tile, it will take you through, and there's a brief description here. And the first thing you need to do is log in. So if you haven't registered, go look at the other video about how to register. We click login. Then you get the questionnaire load. So this is this bit here, and at the top you've got the year that the return year. So this is the financial year you're reporting against. So you can see here we're in 17/18, so the latest year, and you can click these arrows to scroll through previous years. So if we go back to 17/18, what you should see is your organisation name. As you can see here, we've got SDU Trust Test, and the org code should be your ERIC or your ODS code, your 3-letter code for both CCGs and providers. That should show up, and that shows that for providers anyways, you can click the import ERIC data where relevant, and it will import that data for you. So there's two different ways of doing this. There's a way of going through each individual year and going through all the data input, or you can go for each individual part of the data input process, so organisation or spend, for instance, and go through each year. So the first thing to note is both the organisation, the policy and performance tabs can only be input for the most recent year that you're reporting on. If you go to previous year on policy, for instance, it will say please enter details only for the current year. This is because this data is going to be updated every single year. And we want to know, do you have an SDMP, for instance, in this reporting year, which will then be embedded and put into the output report. So these, where I found to do this, is to take a topic area, so size for instance, and then enter the information and click through each individual year. If you're working from the old SDU Excel template, then having that on a different screen or sharing screens and moving that information over is probably a quickest way. I appreciate it'll take a little bit of time in the first instance to get all this information in once, but the good news is once it's in, it gets saved by the website and it's there whenever you log in. So when you come to doing the 18/19 input information, everything you've already put in there will be stored. And as mentioned, for providers, clicking this import ERIC data button will import ERIC data where it is possible, and you can also overwrite that. Because we're a test organisation, we can't do that, but try it for your trust, and I say it'll import the information for you, and you can edit at will. So if you click size, for instance, and then click for all the years, and then put the data. One thing to be aware of, so if we put 59858, once you've input the information and clicked off it, you'll get this little tick button to say that information has been saved. If you're creating and changing multiple entries, then just make sure that that happens before you leave the page. So you see the downloading icon. If you're on a slow internet connection like me, that might take a few seconds. Once you see the tick, then you can move on to the next section. So if we stay with size and go through all the different years, then you can input all the information. As you can see here, I've already done a lot of that already. So we try to keep the portal as inclusive as possible. So lots of organizations might have lots of different types of data. So for instance, in the electricity section, we've got all the different types of electricity that an organization might be purchasing, including renewable energy, green tariff, and also consumed electricity from the grid. What we've tried to do to give you an indication to really help you focus your attention and time is that we've created these little red asterisks to denote which is the core information. So this is stuff that probably needs to be filled in by every organisation, where other elements might be more pertinent to different types of organisation that have got different processes. For instance, if you've got a CHP engine, not every trust has, but if you do have, then entering the data here in relevance to CHP is obviously pertinent to you. One thing we've also done with the tool is you kind of flick through the different themes and areas is if we've tried to make some of the process around this as simple as possible. So for instance, where you might not have data, so the volume of water is a useful one to input. And what you can see here is if you don't have wastewater or sewage metering on your organisation, then if you leave it blank, we will help you in calculating an assumed volume of sewage at 80% of your incoming water. We've tried to, where possible, have hints and tips within the box that give you an explanation about how and when, if information is needed, or if there's a calculation that might be sat behind it. The other element that might be really helpful here is if you click the little help icon, if you don't quite understand the explanation. So business mileage, road and grey fleet, we've got a little explanation here around that this is for vehicles owned by staff and used for business travel. So it's the types of journeys that are going to be claimed through staff expense claims. So hopefully the little hints and tips as you go through will be helpful where you need it. And the other thing to note here is at the end of each bar, it's got a description or the units explaining what sort of input we need. So within the business travel section, there's both miles and pounds. And as mentioned earlier, we do provide calculations and estimates based on financial data or calculations within the tool. So for instance, if you know your business mileage claimed by bus and coach in terms of miles, then please put the mile information in. However, if you don't actually know the distance covered, we've also got a proxy calculation which will calculate the figure from your expenses claims. So if you add in the financial value, the tool will then calculate the miles covered by bus and coach, and then obviously turn that into CO2 within your reporting output.